Hey, says that we are live. Okay, so we are going to be quick with this one. Based on the title, as you can see, we are answering some LinkedIn DMs. Obviously, there's way more. There's DMs in the LinkedIn, the Instagram, the what am I missing? Whatever other platforms that I can't even think of right now. So we're getting started. We're trying to go ahead and chip away at some of these things. I look like this because I have been working out, so I am a little sweaty, hence why I'm in the corner right now. And I just want to quickly take 15, 20, max 30 minutes to answer two questions. We're only aiming for two. So if you are here, if you come back and watch this video, thank you for watching. I'm hoping this helps someone. Anyone else who may relate to these two questions, I get these questions a lot. That's one of the reasons why I'm bringing this up in this video. Please share it with someone. And I'll try to do my best not to post names unless like I didn't ask the person before or people. So I want to make sure I respect their privacy. You can see details or hear details, but I won't state their name. So happy Saturday, happy weekend for those who celebrated 4th of July, whatever you guys did. Hope you guys have fun. For those who are in NBA Summer League, excited to see everybody. But yeah, anyway, let's do it. So we have two questions. One is actually, let's just read what it says. My name is so and so, and I recently so I'm looking at my phone, guys. Ooh, that sun. Okay. And I recently graduated from my master's program in athletic training at UCF. Congratulations. That is awesome. I've been thinking about getting my EMT certification. I am currently in Atlanta for an internship at Georgia Tech. That's what's up. That's awesome. Wow. That's what's up. Okay, cool. I know. We're going to get to the question. And after research, I came across a program at Grady. I see you obtained your certification from there as well. How was your experience? Were you required to actually sit in a class or was it all online? Okay, so there are multi questions in this question that said quick question, but thank you for your series of questions. Hopefully, I can answer as best to my ability as possible. First off, you doing an internship at Georgia Tech, that is awesome. And wanting to or thinking about obtaining your EMT certification is a great idea. I think if you are an athletic trainer, if you want to get in the sports realm, or say if you wanted to just cover sporting events, as an athletic trainer, you could already do so. Just putting that out there. You had some type of emergency medicine care, some type of emergency medicine training when you were in your EMT program, and then you went to a master's program, and heard great things about UCF as well. So I'm pretty sure you already have the training you already need. If you want to kind of get yourself an edge, right? This is by no means necessary to get an EMT, but if you want to be a nationally registered EMT, yes, you have to go through training. I like the idea of it, and it's because of my training, I would say. Training in undergrad, I should say, with athletic training. I went to the University of Georgia. That is on my LinkedIn. That is pretty evident. And then say if I were to scroll, go to my profile on LinkedIn, you'll see that I am a nationally registered EMT. However, I did not go to Grady for my EMT. So apologies if there's any confusion in that sense. I worked at Grady. I didn't do my training at Grady. I did do my training in Georgia, but the city itself was called Locust Grove. Trying to think of what I was doing. I was still working at Grady at the time. That's what it was. I was trying to remember that. That was a long time. I think that was like 20. That might have been like 2016. 2016. I think I graduated 2017 with when I say graduate from the program, the EMT program. So if we were to take a little bit closer look, there are programs that like say if you were to Google Georgia EMT programs, there are programs that you can do. There are the online version. There are, and you don't have to be in Georgia for that part, but you will see that there are in-class trainings, et cetera, et cetera. So if I've talked about this before, I don't know if I talked about this before on my channel. If I may have not. So this is a good, I think it's a good resource. So I've talked to a lot of people about this. This is called Allied Med Training. I think I should be able to type that into this description box so you can see that. And basically, with allied med training, you can have the original certification training for that, and then you can recert. I ended up recerting because of COVID, not because I had COVID, excuse me, but because of COVID, there's been a lot of online programs. There's been a lot of just online training in general has been very helpful. It's not going to replace you doing anything in person and in class. There's always a trying to think of the word that I'm looking for. Like in athletic training, there's practicals and stuff like that. It's the same thing. Anything in the medical field, you're never going to have anything 100% online. If it's a recert that might be, and it's the nationally registered EMT route and basic, not advanced, then there's a lot that can be done online. However, it is not too cheap. So sometimes I have people, or I talk about, go ahead and start with what's called ERA, which is being a first responder, which you probably already are in a way because of athletic training, but maybe you don't have the certification of being a first responder. So there is a company, there's actually a few other companies, but there's one called Sports Medicine Concepts. They're used in the NBA and other teams and NFL, like all different things ever since like the DeMar Hamlin situation. They've been a little bit, you've probably seen them maybe a little bit more, especially if you worked in the professional setting, and they offer classes. And then there is what I went through was the Congent steps, COGENT steps. And literally you can Google either of those, SMC, Sports Medicine Concepts, or Congent steps. And I hope I spelled that correctly. Congent. I think I meant CONGENT, Congent steps. And they have like first responder courses. They can go through simulations and you go through a training. And I went to one with Congent steps years ago on UCF's campus. So it's so funny you went to UCF, I should say, and graduated from their master's program. So I would say start off with that. I'm not against like you looking into the EMT program. I think you should look at the cost, look at how much time is going to be required of you, and see if that's something you want to do because you graduated with your master's. If you have time to go through EMT program, mine was about 10 to 12 weeks, something like that. And that was like, it was no joke. Like we were going through it. And mine was like, they changed the name, but it was just kind of like the Georgia Medical Academy. I don't think it's the same name, but we used the instructor's name is Jeff Bratcher. Great instructor, learned a lot, but he is a great resource. And when you literally Google, Georgia EMT programs, you will find a plethora or just such a huge variety, different things where they call it hybrid, where it's online and in person. I think I really like that. And that wasn't available until COVID happened. So I think that's been a great thing coming out of the COVID realm, or the COVID age, if you want to call it. And I think that's something, if that's what you want to do, I'll go for it. It may make you a competitive candidate for whatever you go for. So for example, if you decide like, I want to work for university after my internship, potentially there's other people that have their athletic training as well. It's an athletic training job in particular. That may help you because of just the in-depth training that you would go with for EMT. The step under would be the ERA, or just a first responder. ERA is the term that they use for emergency medicine, just more of a first responder from an athlete's perspective, or specifically to athletes. That's very helpful because if you think of, as you probably already learned with school, with different equipment for different athletes, how to manage that, just saving a life. Like that's basically what it boils down to. And so looking into those programs, I should type that in the description box when this live is done to take a look at that. I think that would be very helpful. And I feel like you had more questions. So let's make sure we are not missing it. My experience overall, I think I kind of brushed up on that already. My experience overall has been great. Again, I did not go through Grady. You can also see on my LinkedIn profile like the name of the program, but it's probably best to just Google EMT if you really do want to do the EMT route, and then see what you want to do, or allied med training. That company is online, but if you do the psychomotor, I was looking for that word, the psychomotor exam, if you end up doing that with the company, it's around $250 and you have to go to Minnesota. I did not do that part. So when I did my research and I had to do my psychomotor training, that's when I found some programs in Georgia. I drove, where was I? I don't know if that was Rome, Georgia. I went somewhere up north, a little bit up north, north of Atlanta, and was able to do the psychomotor portion. There were other EMTs in training. Most of them were not researched, but you get tested the same way for your psychomotor portion. Then there is the standardized testing. Say if you were to take your BOC exam, it's the same setup. You go to the testing center and you just take your exam. um, the program you go through, all of them will be accredited. Obviously, make sure, but the ones that you look up, or even allied med training that's online, they will be accredited. It's really good training to help you know what to study, and you will most likely do really well on your exam. Like, I've had no issues going through my original program that was in Locust Grove, at Georgia Medical Academy, and then doing my research on allied med training and doing my psychomotor exam. I went through another company, but I found that by Googling and Googling just like some, basically, like, to be able to take an exam, like, you just type in EMT or nationally registered EMT psychomotor exam. Like, you'll find stuff in Georgia. So you have to go, every which way. Um, you don't really have to travel much. So that is really great. So let's make sure. And then the last question was, were you required to actually sit in a class or was it all online? Nothing will ever be all online. EMT, ERA is just like anything medical. Like, for example, I don't want my medical doctor physician doing all their training online and nothing in person. Same thing with athletic training. I wouldn't want anything to be done all online and nothing hands-on or psychomotor. That is just that wouldn't set you up well, and that wouldn't help you become a great clinician. So just like how you say you're doing your internship, there's going to be some hours that are going to be required. The hours may have changed since I went through the program. My research didn't have me go through so many hours, but I did have that psychomotor exam to actually make sure I knew what I was doing and that I said that I studied and went through the online classes. So I think everyone's busy, so I would definitely look into the online version of, if that's something you want to do, the EMT route, alliedmedtraining.com, or look for Conjugate Steps, or SMC, Sports Medicine Concepts. Look into those. Again, you can Google EMT programs if you wanted to in the state of Georgia. If you were going to stay in Georgia, it depends on, but you can do that for any state there, because remember, it's a national registry. And if you ever need any type of direction, knowing the accreditation of the program, if you just Google National Registry, you can say, you can even just say National Registered EMT, and that there's a whole institution. So say if you want to do advanced EMT, if you want to be a paramedic, or you just want to be at the basic route, or if you want to be a first responder, there's some guidance you can have with that, which is great. So now, I hope that answered your question, because that is actually a question I get a lot. So hopefully that answered the question for that route. We're going to shift to the other set, and I have not really like read it completely. So we're going to get this like all in one swoop here. This is definitely nothing rehearsed, so it's going to be funny. Funny on my end. Here we go. Hey, Dr. Brooks, you're definitely a huge idol and motivation of mine. So I currently just graduated from Guilford College. Congrats. That's awesome. And I applied to get into a PTA program, but didn't get in and was resulted to the alternate list. I'm assuming like a waiting list, maybe. but I still have goals of one day becoming an MBA PT as well. And now that I didn't get into the program, I was wondering if you had any suggested jobs I should work with prior to applying to the program next year. Very good question. I do have some PTAs that are like, I do have some PTAs that have reached out, or PTA like students, those who are going in or in hopes to do PTA school. I would definitely want to encourage you to look into physical therapy, not physical therapy assistant. It is very rare for a physical therapy assistant to be hired if your goal is to be an MBA PT. So physical therapist, you do not have to be a physical therapist assistant to become a physical therapist. I think that's another thing. Talking to others, I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but talking to others, some have stated they thought they needed to be a physical therapy assistant or a PTA before becoming a PT, and that is not the case, like, at all. That would be a lot more work for you, unless it's something that, like, your personal choice is what you wanna do. When it comes to being a physical therapy assistant, it is going to be a little bit harder to bridge. Sorry, it's my phone. Should have put it on do not disturb. It's gonna be a little bit harder. Let's do that real quick. It's going to be a little bit harder to bridge from a physical therapy assistant into the league, because as a physical therapy assistant, based on research, you have to work under a physical therapist. And some teams, and that could be NBA, NFL, some teams don't have many physical therapists. So you technically wouldn't be allowed to evaluate, because as a physical therapy assistant, that's not, you're allowed to carry out treatments. And then the physical therapist would have to do evaluation, progress, X, Y, and Z. That structure doesn't necessarily exist in the professional sports. And I'm not trying to say I know everything, just speaking from experience and talking with others in this realm, and not just NBA, but around professional sports in general. It will probably be ideal to go ahead and, you can do, there's internships, that's cool, you can observe. I know observations and internships do not equal money, so that's something I want to put out there. But depending on how you applied for the PTA program, you may have some hours already that maybe you just need some other hours in different settings under a PT instead of a PTA. Again, I don't have much detail based on just this initial paragraph you gave me and just some questions on like suggestions. But if you can gain the experience of shadowing, right? A physical therapist, that could be in a clinic, the outpatient setting. There's something called a skilled nursing facility. There is the hospital setting, acute care. There's inpatient rehab that can also sometimes be in a hospital setting. And then there's long-term acute care. Those are different options, right? And usually for any type of school for physical therapy or physical therapy assistant, there's usually observation hours, supervision, just to call it observation hours that are needed. Each school is different. So what helps is, going on the APTA website, finding out the school that you want to go to. And if it's Guilford College, cool. Just know as a physical therapy assistant, there's probably going to be way more schools and steps that you're going to have to take to be able to operate. When I say on your own, meaning like you don't have to be in supervision of a physical therapist, because in the sports realm, whether that's college, because also college is another great example of, you're not going to find as much of a physical therapy assistant, because you have a physical therapist, an athletic trainer, a chiropractor, team physician. That team physician could be a DO, it could be a true sports medicine physician, a surgeon, orthopedic surgeon. Then you have the sports psychologist, you have the nutritionist, and there's a lot of different things that can fall under that, just for the player or the group of players. And physical therapy assistant is not necessarily something that can independently help, but under the guidance of the physical therapist. So sometimes that's why they have the fellowships, they have the residencies for a physical therapist or an athletic trainer that can act under the supervision, but they're not hired as an assistant. It's more of like they're a student, or maybe they're already a physical therapist or already an athletic trainer. They're doing their residency, their fellowship to get a little bit more experience, exposure, or internship, right? And that helps them to then get that job for whatever setting that's going to be, hopefully in the setting that you're doing your residency, fellowship, or your internship in. So if we can think of this as not telling you what to do because you asked for suggestions, just think of it as, think of shadowing someone, right, in the physical therapy setting. Physical therapy setting does not have to be the MBA. It's going to be very rare. I haven't done it. A lot of people I have worked with or talked with, they rarely got to shadow someone in the professional setting. So it does not mean, it basically does not like predict you can get into the MBA or not just because you didn't get to shadow someone in the MBA. Or I know you said MBA, so let's stick with MBA. So just getting that exposure in various settings, because the school that you would look into, they want those various settings. I'm assuming you've done that maybe for the physical therapy assistant route. I just want to encourage you, start looking into, if you really want to do physical therapy and you said you want to be an NBA physical therapist, that is not a physical therapy assistant. Those are two different things. They'll go ahead and start shadowing a physical therapist. And that could be as simple as like looking at a, it could even looking at, just typing physical therapy, depending on the city that you live in. I don't know where you live, um, in the city you're living in, and that's just like a regular clinic, right? That's outpatient. That could be, you can look for physical therapy outpatient clinic, and the city is say Atlanta, and type that in there and see what you have. Or the hospital setting, they usually allow observation, um, depending again, right? It all depends because I know this is post COVID. Depending on the rules, however, they'll have like some type of like list of things like, oh, are you caught up on immunizations, X, Y, and Z? Here's a HIPAA that you'll find in, all those other things, just depending on the location or the business and what they have set up. I would definitely do that because whatever school you apply to, they're going to want that. I was also in the route where I needed to still go to the community college and get some of my school done, depending on the school I was looking for. So I went to Emory. I know we're talking through LinkedIn because so you could probably see that on LinkedIn. They had classes there like, oh, physics one, physics two. Where I was in undergrad, there were waiting lists, and I did not want to wait, just quite frankly. So I did community college for some of my courses. That helped with my timing. I did a lot of that stuff in the summer as well. And that's some things I will say, if you can look into, depending on like your situation, if you already, well, it says you graduated from Guilford College. So you already got your degree. So yes, that's why I said congrats. So then we need to figure out for the physical therapy programs, if that's the route you want to take, or the other physical therapy assistant program, if you still want to take that route, knowing that it may not correlate into a physical therapy role or physical therapy job, you may have to do then another transitioning program, more schooling to get a physical therapy degree to be a physical therapist, to then get the experience and then hopefully work in the MBA. However, um, look into like just what those schools require. And in the meantime, let's get some observation hours, because then that will be on your resume. You get exposed. That helps you know what you're doing. And then jobs wise, it really depends on what you graduated from undergrad with. That I don't know. However, there are jobs in the physical therapy world that you don't have to be a physical therapist or physical therapy assistant, but they call them physical therapy aides. And it sounds like you may know some of that already. That may be of help. I hope you don't get burned out, because I know it could be busy sometimes. But I will say that helps. You can get the jobs, you can be in that setting, you can get exposed, meet the clients that come through as well. And you can do that in any setting. That's outpatient, that's hospital, acute care. That can hopefully open doors as well for you to get some observation hours in other settings or maybe other locations. That can go then towards school. So you have a stronger profile when you apply again. So, and you said you would apply again next year. So those are my suggestions. Those are the two people I wanted to shout out. Didn't want to put their names, or the information, but I know these questions are helpful for some. Again, to recap, we talked about the emergency medicine uh, technician program, EMT, to be a nationally registered EMT. Is it needed? Should I do it? Where do I go? What do I do? And then I think I'll type that in the websites for that, right? That we talked about already. That was Allied Med Training. That is Sports Medicine Concepts. And then we have Congen Steps. There we go. Also, some of this is already listed on the APTA website. I know you're an athletic trainer. However, that can also be listed there. Sometimes on the NATA website, some of that's already listed as well. But I'll try to type that in the description box so you can refer back to. I'll post a link to this video to your message so then you can see that as well, because we're at the 25-minute mark and I don't want to keep this too long. Then then the gentleman asked about PTA program. We reviewed about physical therapy assistant is not the same as physical therapist. And if you want to be an NBA physical therapist, you might want to look into the physical therapy route. And either way, observation hours in various settings is going to be ideal for you. And job wise, what could be helpful that also gives you some type of experience, not directly, but at least gets you exposed to the physical therapy setting or physical therapy assistant setting, depending on how you want to go about things. You can be a physical therapy aide, and that is very that hopefully can open some relationships to clients that are nearby, to then getting observation hours elsewhere and just helping you have a stronger profile for when you apply again. So thank you for your questions. There are way more we're going to go through. I'm going to go ahead and get my life together because I have cooled down from working out. Yes, I look like this while working out. It is totally fine. Thank you guys for sharing this with people who may have similar questions. Thank you for watching. We're going to try our best. Okay. We're going to do our best to get these videos out to answer questions, because a lot of people have very similar questions. I want to help as many people as possible. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. And if I see you in Vegas, if you're at the Elite Rehab Basketball Conference in Vegas, or if you're at the national, I think the strength conditioning coaches for the NBA, they have a conference there. If I see you at either of those, or I see you at Vegas Summer League, I will definitely say hi. Come up to me and say hi. Definitely very excited. I always love going to Summer League and just meeting people, or just people I haven't seen before, or just people just seeing everyone again. So have a great one. We're at the 27-minute mark. I want to make sure it was max 30 minutes. So keeping my word, and you guys have a great one. Okay, bye.